Yes, it is Thursday. It's that time of the week again. Slightly later than usual, but we're here now. We're going to talk about Saliba, top four, and the importance, well, according to me anyway, of Rob Holding. Let's do this.
Holding back the years, thinking of the fears I've had so long. When somebody here listen to the fear that's gone, I'll keep holding on, yeah, yeah. I'll keep holding on, alright. I'll keep holding on. I'll keep holding on. Holding, holding, holding.
This guy, I swear to God, this guy,
I see what you did there, man.
I literally did not
Keep
expect.
holding on, Rob Holding. You know, like, I see what you did there.
Oh, Tony, you're
You know what,
brilliant.
mate? I was watching your faces. King was like stunned. I could just see him. He was just stunned. I looked at you, G, and you're kind of like this. I think you're doing so. You're like messaging someone quickly or something, and you looked up and you just go. You were gone. You
Wow,
were.
I was busting up because I'm just thinking, yeah, standard intro. So let me just retweet that we're live right now, and then I hear the music and I'm like, hold on, I know that tune.
Hold on, wait a minute.
And then I just see the video and I'm like, oh, this guy.
Oh yeah, ended on the note as well, guys. Very quickly on my TikTok, the YouTube links in my bio.
Oh, man,
I had to. I just had to. Anyway, yes, it is the lounge, and I am joined by two superstars. Firstly, as a resident and on the Army TV, GunnerKing, how are we, sir?
All good, man. Yeah, just waiting to start my new job next week. As I said, guys, watching on TikTok, go to the YouTube link in my bio, get into the therapy sessions that we got on now for Arsenal. We're going to be talking about Rob Holding today. Feel free to drop your comments, and we'll get them in on the show as well. Subscribe, like, you know what to do. Do the rest. Yeah.
Love that. And Cannon Chatter's own GTalksArsenal. It's becoming a bit more of a regular these days. We love having you on, mate.
You know what? It's mad, isn't it? Because I think like we did a stream. I think it was last week, and I think Steven's getting a little bit jealous. You know.
I saw that. I did.
You must have commented in the chat, and he was like, "Oh yeah, go on, G. There's your best friend Tony from the Armoury." But nah, it's all good, man. It's all good. You know what? I'm good, man. I'm good. Just come back from the bank, as I was saying to you. Finally committing to a joint account with the missus. So after all these years. But yeah, other than that, I'm blessed, man. I'm blessed. I just love being on you guys' show. I think you guys make amazing content. You're all genuinely nice guys. So pleasure to be here, man.
No, you're far too kind. Likewise with you guys at Cannon Chatter, you, Stephen, Lottie, the lot of you, you know. Yeah. So the title was obviously I called it the importance of Rob Holding. Now I'm going to ask you two, what do you think I mean by that? I'm going to start with, because I think we're a bit split here between you two. Perhaps I'm going to start with you, G, and then we'll go on to GunnerKing.
So, in terms of what you mean by the importance of Rob Holding, I think is a very good question because I think, you know, like a lot of Arsenal players prior to this season and even throughout this season, there are still, despite a clear out, there are still a couple of players in the Arsenal squad that do really split opinion. And I think there will always be players in any squad that are going to split fan opinion. It's very unlikely that you're ever going to have a squad of players, even first team 11 players that, you know, all fans are going to be completely convinced about, because we all got different, you know, likes, dislikes, perspectives, opinions, etc. And we all kind of analyze players and look for different qualities in players. So I don't think there's ever going to come a time when we're going to agree. But I think the most important thing is we have, you know, a civil and rational conversation about it. But I think obviously for you, and obviously sections of the Arsenal fan base, Rob Holding is a really important player. And like I was saying to you off air, I think the timing of this question, I think, is quite crucial, because I think right now, I think that the mood amongst the Arsenal fan base is very positive.
Yeah.
And I think that for some of us, you know, there are others that are negative regardless of what's going on. But also in terms of Rob Holding's contributions and Rob Holding's kind of position and importance in the team, at the moment, I honestly can't, you know, I can't come up here and say, you know what, and actually, you know, diss the lad or criticize him too much. Because for me, every single player in that squad at the moment has some kind of importance in terms of our top four push, because these are the players that we're left with. You know, January window came and went, and we didn't strengthen. If anything, our team in terms of numbers became weaker. So it wasn't something we were all happy about, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. But between now and obviously the Everton game, which is the last game of the season, every single one of those, you know, 22, 25 players that we have in that squad is going to have to be called upon, is going to have to do a job at some stage. And to be honest, I know we'll get into the whole, you know, is he good enough? Is he not? What should we do with him in the summer? But for me right now, he's playing a very important role in that team. And every time we've called upon him, you know, even if you look at our kind of recent run of like 12, 13 games where we've only lost to City and Liverpool, he's been very integral in terms of seeing out some really key games and results. So, yeah, in terms of his role within the team, short term, very positive. Don't have much bad to say about him, but I'm sure we'll get onto the long-term future of Rob Holding as well.
Yeah, for sure. GunnerKing.
Yeah, man. I mean, like a lot of what I feel is quite similar with GT Talks. So I've always thought he's a good player. You know, I think in the previous seasons, he's been a good addition to the squad. There was at one point, you know, where he was like in the first team in and around it. I think last season he did really well. I think. Yeah, in terms of this season, I think he's been very good at coming on when we've needed to hold on to help us see out games. I think the general consensus you've seen all these kids making edits and like on TikTok and people like putting up tweets on Twitter saying like, "Yo, you know the game's over when Rob Holding comes on." Just to kind of see a game out. That's when the opposition know the game's over. Like it's starting to become a theme, you know, like a pattern of this season. One which is good. Look, you know, if it helps us get to where we need to get, which is hopefully in the top 4 this season, then I'm here for it. You know, like, you know, I'm not gonna lie. You know, I think, you know, I'm sure as GC said, in terms of the longer term future though, you know, when you look at what Gabriel and White are doing at this tender age of 24, both of them. 13 clean sheets when they've played together in the Premier League, and this is their first season playing together. That's equal to the amount of clean sheets of Chelsea, who have undeniably arguably 2 world-class defenders in Rudiger and Thiago. Only Liverpool and City have got more. And, you know, to allude to what my thoughts on the longer-term future would be, I don't think he's going to break into that, like, what they're doing. Like, what they're doing is only you're likely to assume going to get better. And I think that poses the question of, do we keep him? He runs down his contract. He leaves for free because he's not playing enough first team minutes. Or at the same time, he deserves to play as a player. You know, like he deserves to. He's good enough to go to a club and play week in, week out. And I just think the more I'm seeing Gabriel and White doing what they're doing, the more I think we should take the sensible and pragmatic approach in the summer, cash in, reinvest in someone younger that can compete with those two. We have to build a competitive squad. And then that means, you know, raising the floor, removing sentiment for the equation. you can't really have people in the squad if they're not competing with the people that are in the first team. Otherwise, what are you paying their wages for? You know what I mean? And I say that with the greatest respect because the guy cost 2 million and came from Bolton when they were in the championship. You know, like, so relative to where he came from and where he is, he's made massive strides in his ability. But yeah, just for the system that Arteta plays and how well that these two are doing, I think we've got to make the sensible choice here. We've watched enough people walk out the door for nothing. I can name 4 or 5 players that have cost us 200 million that we've recouped nothing for. And that buck has to stop, whoever the player is.
Listen, I hear what you're saying completely. And I think I do agree. Obviously, Ben White and Gabriel is the partnership. And obviously suited to the system that Mikel Arteta wants to play. And I also do agree with you. We need to bring in another defender. Whether it's Saliba coming back or someone different, similar to Ben White and Gabriel. But for me, Rob Holding gives you something different. I think you're going to need it next season as well. I think he should stay on for like another year. Hence, I'll keep holding on. But you know, he comes, like you said, he comes on, changes the doesn't change the game, but you know, shores things up. And there's going to be some games next season that we won't be able to play our system. So we need to we'll have to play a defensive game, and we're going to have to call upon him. I did in the last stream or stream before, I mentioned that he kind of reminds me of Martin Keown in the sense that when called upon, he'll do a job for you. He's a bit filthy, you know, we're getting a player's space. Rob Holding does that. We've seen that with Mane and Diego Costa, you know, and players like that. And I think he's the kind of person that you will need to keep. Whether he'd want to stay, obviously, is a completely different thing. But he seems very professional, and he seems quite happy. I've seen a recent interview of him and Ramsdale just the other day, and he seemed really happy. They're all, I don't know. No one really knows what's going on behind closed doors, but I think we should keep Holding for that. You know, for those games that are going to be nitty gritty, or we're down to 10 men, 9 men, whatever, and we need to shore things up. I think it'd be really important for what we're trying to do, not for the style that Arteta wants to play, but again, if we have to change the style, we've got a player in Rob Holding that can do that. Anyone want to pick that?
You know what? My opinion, because I think, you know what, for a long time we've had players in the squad that, you know, we've all deemed as Arsenal fans, you know, common sense are not good enough. You look at the likes of Mustafi, Kalashnik, etc. But I think, you know, with Rob Holding, and it's kind of like after the last 2 seasons, I was very much, you know, like we need to clear out, we need to get rid of all these players, etc., etc. But I think what you've seen in where Arteta has got rid of a core of certain players, I definitely feel like, and what he's building at the club, you're definitely starting to see the ones that have left behind, you're starting to see their importance. Because in a way, I kind of used to put, you know, the likes of Holding, you know, Lacazette, Xhaka, all in the kind of same bag as the Mustafis and the Kalashniks. Not because I'm saying they're the same players or the same quality, just because, you know, Arsenal needed a massive clear out. But I think what you're seeing since that kind of, you know, mini clear out or clear outs happened is that some of the players that we may have initially thought should go and probably eventually will go, they have very much stepped up in terms of Xhaka, in terms of Lacazette, in terms of Holding.
Cedric as well.
Cedric as well. You're seeing, all of a sudden, you're actually seeing what some of these players that we'd already put in the bin in our minds can actually offer something for the team. For me, I agree completely with GunnerKing in that Ben White and Gabriel, that is the centre-back, you know, partnership moving forward. However, as GunnerKing and you've said, there needs to be competition for places. Contrary to a lot of people think, I think Saliba is going to come back. I think a lot of the stuff going online is a lot of taking stuff out of context, a lot of rumours, a lot of hot air. I think he will, at the end of the day, he's contracted to Arsenal Football Club. So unless we choose to sell him, he's coming back after his loan. I'm looking at it in a literal sense.
So when we offering him another contract as well, even though he's got 2 years left on it.
This is it. So when I look at Gabriel, Ben White, Saliba coming back, I'm looking at who we have as centre backs. And now the other option is Holding and Marry. Now, based on what I've seen so far, I would comfortably prefer to sell Marry in the summer than I would to sell Holding. So I'm looking at Gabriel, Ben White, Saliba, Holding, and even potentially a fifth centre-back, because I think if we're going to be in the Champions League next season and we're going to be competing on 5 fronts or 4 fronts, we need, for me, comfortably, we need 5 centre-backs.
We need to remember that Tomiyasu can also play centre-back. That is actually his natural position.
Yeah, and that means we'd potentially need a right-back. So, yeah, Tomiyasu can come in the back, but as much as I was kind of, sold on the idea of, I don't think Rob Holding is good enough long-term for Arsenal. I do think we'll eventually, sell him. When I look at the squad and where we are and some of the other positions where we need to improve and how that's not going to be cheap to do in the summer, I think there is a place for Holding in this squad next season. Definitely, in my opinion. I don't think it's a pressing or desperate situation where we need to sell him and replace him when you've got, defender like Marry, who, for me, quite clearly at the present time, there's a reason why he's gone on loan. So it's a difficult one. It is going to split opinion, but I would much rather move Marry on in the summer and keep Holding than the reverse.
Personally, the reason why I would move them both on, obviously this trusty guy that we bought, the American, he's going to go out on loan next season. Get experience. As I said, if you've got Tomiyasu and Saliba as guys that can play a centre-back and you get cover at right-back, what cover at right-back would do would allow you to be like, if that guy is good enough, then obviously that guy can play if we are short, and Tomiyasu can be moved to the centre if you didn't want to move Saliba there. That's 4 options. When you look at Gabriel and when you look at White, and watching Tomiyasu play as a right-back, he can, his ball playing abilities are understated. Just because he doesn't bomb forward in the same way that Tierney does, he's not asked to in that system, though. You look at what he did against Leeds, that moment where he just kind of jinxed 2 players and ran on, he can pass as well with both his feet. So as a ball playing centre back in our back 4, he could play the White role. Do you know what I mean? Then you look at Saliba, he's similar as well. These are centre backs that, at the very least, are good on the ball. And I'm not saying Rob Holding's terrible on the ball. He's definitely not. He's no slouch, but he's not better than these 3 on the ball. And overall, defensively, he's not. He's not better. I mean, Tony, these stats are from small sample sizes, man. Eye test, bro.
I've done the eye test.
You're telling me that on the eye, Rob Holding is better than those 3 players on the ball.
I'm saying he's as good on the ball as
he's not. He's not. Come on, let's be real.
People just want to see what they want to see.
Stop the cap, man.
And I see it, and I've got the numbers to back up what I see.
Bro, come on, man. Just use your eyes, bro.
I did. That's why that's there.
There's no way that Rob Holding is as good as Ben White on the ball. I'm not having that.
When he first came into the scene, all I heard was Gunners widely say, "Oh, look how comfortable he is on the ball. Isn't it nice to see a defender comfortable on the ball?" But all of a sudden, that's gone. It doesn't just go. He's always at it.
Ben White is twice the ball playing centre back when it comes to comfort on the ball. When it comes to progressive ball carrying, when it comes to dribbling, when it comes to passing, when it comes to passing with both his feet, when it comes to his first touch, just his overall technique is better, bro. It's not.
Yeah, but you got to remember with Ben White as well. And by the way, I'm not rubbishing, but I love Ben White. By the way, I love both of them, Ben White and Gabriel. Holding can do it. What are you forgetting is that when we've seen Holding do things like this, he's playing with the likes of Bellerin and Leno behind him, and now Nenny in front of him. That's when you're seeing him.
I'm going to ask you a question, Tony. So in terms of your defense of Holding, so personally on this question, well, a couple of questions. One, would you start Holding over Ben White in the Arsenal team?
Not now. At the start of the season, I probably would have. But now, because it's working, why would I want to disrupt? Why would I want to do that? So no.
Yeah. In terms, go on.
What I was going to say is this, right? James always talks of the cautionary tale, yeah? We could have had 25 million for Ainsley Maitland-Niles, yeah? And after a good... Yeah, it was the year we won the FA Cup, 2020. Like, because we had a good cup run, and we were playing the back five, and Ainsley Maitland-Niles was playing well in it.
Who was it? Was it Leicester or Everton that put the bid in?
Yeah, no, it was Wolves.
Wolves. Oh, yeah, it was.
5 million. That good cup run, that good FA Cup run, allowed us to let sentiment get involved. We didn't take the 25 million. We'll be very lucky to get 25 million from Roma now. And whilst he's an academy product, so, you know, like, we're not looking at any profit or loss or anything. And whilst Rob Holding has only cost 2 million, a guy that sits on the bench, every game he sits on the bench, he's not playing, his stock is decreasing in terms of, like, his valuation. The more he spends on the bench, the less his valuation is going to be. Also, for the player, what happens is the player sits on the bench, his contract runs down, he starts thinking, I'm not getting game time here. You know what? I might as well run down my contract because I can leave at a premium to another club in terms of wages that I can demand, get a higher wage because I'm not costing a transfer fee. And then next thing you know, he's leaving for nothing. Now, look, I know he only cost 2 million, but for me, it's the principle. Like, if you look at the last decade and the fact that we brought Richard Garlick in, it was because we have been hemorrhaging money in this way. Yeah. And if you look at the bigger picture that GT described, we've got a lot left to do in our rebuild. I would say we need 2 central midfielders. I would say we need 2 strikers, especially if Lacazette and Nketiah leave. And I would say we need cover at right back. And that's a lot of money. You know, and the reality is we have to be open and susceptible to raising that money from anywhere possible. You know, we can't have people in the squad that realistically, as good as they are, aren't going to compete with the first team squad members and that are liable to running their contract down without just making the difficult but necessary decision, which is, look, take what you can get for him now. And I'm not sure, I'd like someone to tell me how much longer he does have on his contract.
We're holding. He signed for his last year, didn't he? 3 or 4 years?
Yeah, so I mean, look, we're coming close to the 2-year territory, and that's when they start thinking. It is the 2 years, you know, like, it's like, well, if I renew now, am I going to get as much as if I run my contract now? You know,
but you say all that. You're talking about the money in that, but the football's a results game, as far as I'm concerned, right? And say if we had a game like Wolves next season, that could be the difference to maybe challenging for the title, maybe getting far in the Champions League, maybe getting into a final of the FA Cup or whatever, and you bring that Holding on, that shores things up, wins you the game. Would you feel comfortable putting like a Saliba on to do that?
Yeah,
I wouldn't. I
definitely would. Marseille, bro, he's been playing in Europe.
That's in France. I like Saliba. I like him doing.
Bro, let me finish. He's been playing in Europe as well, in the Europa League, against high-level opposition. Like, he's literally been getting rave reviews, a number of Player of the Month awards. Like, it's a no-brainer, Tony. Like, he's been playing more competitive football than Holding. Reality.
I know I will be comfortable. Let me just throw this out, and this is not to compare the players at all. This is just to point out his strengths. We all talk about the ball carrying, and we all have views on that. But this is all about the defending. This is like clearances, interceptions, blocks, tackles, last man tackles, and Holding tops most of them there.
What you've got to understand, Tony, while using these stats, right? If you're bringing Holding on to close out a game because you're under pressure, you are conceding possession to the other team. The other team are obviously going to be more dominant in that period. They're going to face more defensive situations. But so using the stats of Holding here without that context is a bit like the stats can be misleading. And this is an example.
There's going to be games. There's going to be games that we are going to be on the back foot, and we're going to have to bring in a Holding.
Many games. That's things so if you're bringing him on in the last 10, 15 minutes to hold on to a game, in terms of what you're doing is you're compacting your shape. And when you compact your shape, what happens is you are allowing territory and possession, for the opposition to be in your half because you are compacting your shape. So you are going to face more one-on-one situations as a defender. You're going to face more duels. You're going to have to make more tackles in those situations, which can ramp up those numbers for holding. That's my point. Whereas Saliba, White, and Gabriel this season have consistently been seeing out 90-minute games. Far more.
I think with the holding debate, it's like it's one of those ones where it's like when you look at the squad and obviously like you think about, I think, you know, looking at Arteta, it's quite clear that he lacks characters. And it's quite clear that, you know, what he's building, you know, at the club is something special. It's in its early stages, you know, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but I definitely think holding doesn't necessarily fit the criteria in terms of like his overall quality, in terms of being like a hybrid defender, you know, ball carrying, comfortable on the ball, etc., etc. And because I know obviously the stats are there, but I think, you know, watching the different defenders, I would definitely say, you know, the likes of Ben White and Gabriel are better on the ball. My issue is that I do feel as though, you know, I do understand Tony's argument. There is a place for players like Holding within the squad. And the only reason why I say that is because, you know, not all the time we're going to be able to win games pretty. Not all the time, you know, is it going to be a case of, you know, breezing past the opposition, etc. There are going to be times, you know, between now and the end of the season, next season and seasons to come, where it's going to be backs against the wall. It's going to be squeaky bum time. And we are going to need not necessarily a defender who can, you know, have a fantastic first touch, pass a player, and then put a through ball. We're going to need somebody that's just one-dimensional, get it out, get rid of it, and just do a job. So it's like, I understand both arguments in terms of why, you know, we would be looking to move a player like him on, but I also understand the side where, you know, you need players like that in your squad, because at the end of the day, 22, 25 men can't start the game. You know, we're gonna have, you know, just like we've seen this season, we've got a stabilized, consistent starting 11. And I think part of being in part of a squad where there is, you know, that morale and stuff is you are going to have players that not necessarily are content with being on the bench, but also remain professional and competitive. Rob Holding strikes me as the type of player that he's not happy to be on the bench, but he will remain professional and he will do all he can to try and get back into that team. Now, the likelihood he's not going to get back into that team. So I think a lot is going to be depending on how he sees his career in terms of moving on. But if you look at all the great teams, you know, the Arsenal Invincibles, if you look at the United team that won the treble, there were squad players in these squads that knew they would not start. They knew they would not, you know, they would probably only maybe get 10, 15 games a season. Yeah. When you look at the likes of, you know, you look at like Andy Cole and Dwight York, the formidable partnership that actually, you know, absolutely battered the league and Europe that season. That, as much as I hate to say it, was one of the most devastating strike forces I've seen, you know, especially Dwight York being a Trini man from my home country. At the same time, Sheringham and Solskjaer won them the Champions League, you know, in the final. So I see both sides of the argument, but while, you know, Holding does come under a lot of kind of criticism, I think right now he's doing a job. And I do definitely feel like when you look at a squad and you overall look at the 22, 25-man squad that you have, you've got to have players like Holding, squad players like Holding that are content, but competitive, professional, and can actually bring something to the team at that right moment.
Let me put it to you like this. My opinion last season when it ended was that Willock's stock was higher than Holding's in the squad, right? You know, as a Hayland Academy product, I feel that he could have got more chances playing for Arsenal.
Yeah.
And obviously he left. He's left with my blessing. I think he's done fairly well for Newcastle. But let's just deep the fact that we took 25 million for Joe Willock, put another 5 million on it, and bought Odegaard.
Yeah.
Let's just deep that.
Yeah.
Because this is what we're talking about here, yeah? We're talking about replacing, yeah? Like, I think Arteta and Edu, what they're showing, they went and got Tomiyasu for less than 20 million. And he's already being talked about as one of the best performing right backs when he's been fit this season. You know, obviously not there with the likes of Trent and, to be clear, like, you know, like James and Cancelo and those guys, but you know, of the up and coming bunch, considering he's 22, a guy that's been talked about that could one day, if he carries on, elevate himself to that conversation, right? This is what raising the floor is about, bro. Like, literally, 25 million, you add 5 million, you get Odegaard, and all of a sudden on my FYP, I'm seeing even Man United fans like Neil Talks Football, yeah, who I don't agree with the opinion, saying that he's already better than Bruno. You know, like putting them in the conversation with Bruno Fernandes after less than 25 games. That's what I want. That's what I want. You know, like Holding is not going to elevate himself to that level. Let's just be real. Like, remove the sentiment from it.
You're also saying he's still young.
There's capacity to take 10, 15 million for him, and you could have added 5 million to get someone like Tomiyasu. There's plenty more players like out there in the world like that, younger, higher ceiling, could improve, could actually push, like, realistically for those first team squad places. And at the same time, you know, because they're young, like what GT's saying, they can be professional enough to bide their time. Smith Rowe is coming off the bench at the moment because when he got injured, Martinelli came in. Odegaard's performances have been outstanding. And he knows that as he is young, he's only 21, he's got time on his side, you know, to fill out, to nail down the idea of what exact role he wants to play in the system. And he's patient. Yeah. So the difference would be Smith Rowe is on a longer term contract. And when it's younger, it's cheaper and more affordable and easier to put on a long term 4 or 5 year contract. Yeah. And that person has a credible, realistic chance, yeah, of potentially being better and dethroning what we already have. This is what all competitive squads have. You look at Man City, you know, Stones is good enough on his day to make Pep think twice about Laporte and Diaz. I'm not saying he does. Do you know what I mean? There's not a massive drop-off. And he's had days where he performs as good as any of those guys. Ake, he's come in, played some important games this season. Yeah. And for me, I don't look at Holding and then look at Gabriel and then look at White and the way that they're performing as good as he's been doing when he's been coming off the bench, and think in those appearances, he's made me think twice about those two. He hasn't done that. So for me, that's where I draw a line. You know, like, take what you can, cut, because the only thing that's going to happen is we're going to turn away free money. We've got a lot to do this summer. Get the money from wherever we can to make it easier. We know that we're not a Chelsea. We're not a Man City. We're not fueled by oil. Do you know what I mean? We have to be pragmatic in a way that other teams don't. And that means we can't waste the dumpling, my friend. We can't waste the dumpling on sentiment. We can't do it.
It's what I see. It's what I see. I'm going to go into comments.
None of these clubs. We're not a United.
I think we got to
do things on the come up. We got to do it the hard way.
It's also worth mentioning that at the same time is, like, quite clearly Arteta's, you know, view on it is that obviously you've got Ben White and you've got Gabriel, and that's a centre back partnership. So, you know, I think this season it's been really, because obviously when we signed Ben White, obviously Gabriel started the season with COVID. He wasn't really in the team, and that really kind of put the spotlight on Mari. And we clearly saw in those first 3 games that he wasn't good enough. After I thought he was quite decent a couple of times. I saw him last season. But I think the fact that Ben White came in and literally walked into the first team, I think that pretty much kind of cemented, you know, Arteta's opinions.
Anyway.
What's that?
So at 50 million, he was going to walk in anyway.
Yeah, this is what I mean. So I think in terms of, when you look at the partnership that, you know, White and Gabriel formed, and you look at the part that Holding is playing at the moment, I think it's pretty clear that, you know, from Arteta's perspective, that, you know, long term, you know, he is probably going to move Holding on. But I'm just not sure if, I don't know. I'd like to get your opinions. Obviously, Silver Fox, I think we know where you stand. But in terms of like just this summer, both of you, can you really see Arteta moving on both Murray and Holding? I can't see it.
Absolutely.
Murray,
Yeah.
I can't see Holding.
Yeah, look. If you bring on, he's brought in Trusty as a centre back. He's got on for the season. You bring in a competent right back, because Tomiyasu's good at right back. Don't get me wrong, yeah, but there's going to be games that you want to chase, where you want to bring on a right back who can be a bit more expansive, you know, that can offer you a bit more going forward. Now, if that right back, you know, is competent and good, you know, and is going to start more games where there are going to be lesser teams, more games to play in Europe where we need to rotate, where he's going to get his 30 games in a season, then ultimately what you can do is, if you want another centre-back option other than Saliba, you have Tomiyasu. That's 4 options. For me, I think 4 or 5 options. 4 really is the minimum that I would expect. For me, he fits the mould in terms of his profile. He can win aerial duels, he can tackle, he can intercept, read the game, he can pass with both feet. He's strong, he's fairly agile and quick, has pace, you know, like has a much better turn of pace than Rob Holding. He's quicker, he's
what are you going to do?
all of these things. So for me, that's your 4. Like for me, I'm more interested. Hang on a second. If we're looking at 2 midfielders and 2 strikers, I think now we need to start thinking a bit more of quality rather than what we did last season. We brought in 6 players at a cost of 140 million. Great players, don't get me wrong. But when you get to Champions League and when you want to maintain your Champions League spot, now you need to go for quality. And you're not talking about 20, 30 million pound players anymore. You're talking at least 1 or 2 of those have got to be top players. Like, you know, like they've got to be of caliber, you know, like they've got to be, you know, Tielemans. How much do you think he's going to cost if we go Leicester to get him? What, you think we're going to just run up on them and give him 40 million for him? Yeah, all right. He's only got 1 year on his contract. He's going to be in high demand. Other clubs are going to want him. I'm going to go through some of the players that we've been linked with, yeah? And I'm going to put a price tag on them. Tielemans, probably 50 million minimum, yeah? Right, we've been linked with Jonathan David. You think we're getting him for less than 50 million?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. We've been looking at Isak. What, you think we're getting him for less than 60 million?
We've got a clause.
You know, we've been linked with Darwin Núñez. Do you see the price tag that they put on him the other day after he scored against Ajax? These men were trying to say 80, 90 million euros. Just to even start the conversation. We've got to be real, yeah? Like Champions League or even Europa League elevates the standard that is required, yeah? Like to stay there. Because the last thing we want to do is what United might do. Get top 4 for 2 years. Get to the point where they were at that point where it's like, right, now we get the quality in to push for that thing above, and then fall flat on your face and have to start again. And to get those players and to be able to spend that much, I think we need to be ruthless and raise the money by hook or by crook to do it. I'm sorry. I just don't.
I want to go for something nasty thing, right? So you're getting rid of Armoury, you're getting rid of Holding. Are you getting rid of Cedric as well?
Probably.
Okay, so you get rid of Cedric.
I mean,
we get one
right anyway, so I think
we got a lot. Hold on. So we got all these competitions next season, right? You got rid of those 3. So you put yourself a new right back. Okay, he's got injured. Okay, Saliba, he's got injured. You got playing Tomiyasu as centre back or right back. Who are you playing there then when you've got these problems with all these games? all these injuries. How you working with that?
It's unlikely that we're going to see that level of injury, Tony. I mean, it's
Well,
a very...
With all these games, these players are young. All of them are young, as you mentioned.
Yeah, but that doesn't immediately increase their propensity to get injured, does it?
So you're going to get another right back. So you want to keep Tomiyasu at right back. So you're going to get yourself a cover for Tomiyasu because you're not playing Tomiyasu at centre back because you got
even if you get the sort of right back that is able to play two roles. There are plenty of players out there that can play centre back and full back.
Like Ben White.
Option. Like Tomiyasu. He's a perfect example, right?
These comments are going mad, fam.
I know, and that's what I'm going to go to. I've seen so many, and I'm going to go through them now. We're going to start with Gun.
People got serious opinions on this, man.
So it gets people talking, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? This is what it's about. I really wonder who's behind this topic. I wonder. I can't be on the stream, but I put out there, Holding has the potential to be a cult hero, similar to Pardo, Grimondi, Edu, the unsung heroes who are dependable and you never let. That's the one. That's it for me. Jay from TikTok, one of King's followers. Canners, Holding is important this season, as is every member of the squad. However, I feel this will diminish next season, but I may be wrong. You know, again, it's all about opinions, especially when it comes to Rob Holding, the way I see it. Rob Holding, in a nutshell, old style centre back, good defender, good mentality leader, and will be a great fourth choice centre back. However, we need Saliba to come in as third choice or buy a new centre back to improve us. And look, I said that. Saliba will be, you know, the one in line after Ben White and Gabriel for the style that, you know, Arteta wants to implement into the team. Senor Subdivider. He's a good sub to go for a strong defensive back five in these games. Might be key. Boods in the house. Big up Gunner, GTalks, and Rob Holding's cousin, Mr. Fox. Senor Subdivider says we might see games which have Arsenal defend 1-goal leads. I see this against someone like Chelsea. Care396. Do you think you could do with an old head at the back? Look how much Thiago helped Chelsea. Yeah, maybe. It's depending on finding that player that would. I don't know. I'm gonna try and go through all these comments as quick as I can because there is so many. See if anything sticks out. Gum says, I hear King equally. You need players who are not too big a drop but happy with their role. 25 players can all expect 30 games a season. So many.
Wait, what you said about the competitive salary, like I said, you buy younger players, you take away that higher salary issue. That's literally how we've reduced our wage bill. So if we were to sell Holding, I would want someone in the under 23 bracket, maybe even the under 21 bracket to come in that in the future will have the credible chance of being good enough to dislodge any of the defenders that we got now. And they'd be on a competitive salary.
Yeah, my only concern, obviously, I hear what you're saying, King, but my only concern with that is that, you know, if you've got, and I know you're talking about Tomiyasu doing a role at centre back, but if you've got a situation where you're obviously not relying on Ben and Gabriel, Saliba, how old is Saliba? 20, 21?
21,
22.
20. Yeah, 20. And then if you bring somebody in like 20, 21 again, I'm not too sure about that. The lack of experience there. Do you know what I mean? Like if you're not playing Ben White and Gabriel, who obviously are going to have this season under their belt, all of a sudden you get one or two injuries. If you're playing a Saliba in his first season in the Premier League with a new centre back adjusting to the Premier League, I don't know how I feel about that one.
I want to see him in pre-season. Like what I've been seeing of him in France, he's been excellent.
Yeah,
we're not talking about someone who's having a good loan spell. We're talking about, you know, him being one of Marseille's best players. You know what I mean? So, like the other thing that concerns me is the way that his move has been handled. Saliba's since he's been here has been botched, haphazard, it probably might have left doubts in his longer term future. And I think clearing the runway for him by getting rid of Holding sends him a signal of intent. It lays down a marker for him. And if you are asking me to choose between sentiment of keeping Holding and getting rid of him to give assurances to Saliba that he needs, that his longer term future is here so we can renew his contract, my brothers, the choice is simple. But as good as Holding's been, man, because as I said, I'm not saying he's been bad, but
I'm saying
the top teams, the ones that we're trying to compete with, they haven't got where they've got to by not being ruthless in these situations.
But the thing is, you know what? I'm not sure if it's an either or at this stage between Saliba and Holding. I think it really depends on if we buy a centre back.
If we 2 years left on his contract, we did buy a centre back, that trusty guy. So when he goes back on loan at the end of the season, and then you still got Holding, and then he comes back and maybe he's had a loan spell, then that spins Saliba's head. He goes somewhere on loan and he's an absolute revelation. Same way Saliba's been. And then there's a massive fan outcry for that guy to come into the team. Then Saliba's like, hang on, I've had Holding here because he's the more experienced guy. He's been the one coming off the bench. Now this guy's had a great loan spell and he's coming back. I've only got 1 year left on my contract. Now you're looking at 2 million plus 27 million walking out the door for free because you tried to please too many people.
It's actually a lot more crowded than you think, isn't it, at the centre back situation?
It is.
You've got Gabriel, you got White, you got Saliba coming back, you got Holding, you got Murray, you got Trusty. That's 6 centre backs. Even though they're not all going to be at the club at the same time, obviously Trusty's going on loan, but it's still 6 centre backs. Yeah,
you're only going to play 2 at any given time.
Yeah, you're going to be a juggling act for Arteta and Cole.
We got Carabao Cup, we got Europe. We're going to need the depth, and
you think rotating?
I would say,
even though we're playing in full competition,
there's some games you're going to have to do it. Like, we can talk about the money all we want. I'm talking about results. All I want is results. And I want the players in the team and teams that we're going to play against. Like, listen, we can go on for this. We can go on further. And I feel like a part 2 is coming. A part 2 is coming, and we're going to do this at the end of the season because we're going to know where we are, especially with the Saliba situation and all the other centre backs that are due to come back. I think we should pause it there. We're going to do a part 2, and I'm just going to ask you one simple question, both of you, just one answer, like a simple answer. Are you keeping Rob Holding for another season, yes or no?
No.
G?
Yeah. 1 season.
And I've asked my followers the same question. An 81% no ball. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, I'm going to move. I'm going to move on.
He's trying to wind you up in it.
We're going.
Don't buy it.
50 minutes, right? 50 minutes. Yeah, we've been talking about Holding. We've touched on Saliba a bit, and we have spoken about it a little bit. And it's his birthday today, actually. So happy birthday, William Saliba.
Yeah, it is.
I'm not against him coming back. I haven't got a problem with him. My problem is with our fan base. That is my problem with him. They're resting too much hopes on what he's doing in France and that. I will get excited when I see him wear the Arsenal shirt and he's performing well. And I think he will. I like what I'm seeing. I like what he's doing in France, but I'm not going all in just yet. I'm not going over the top.
Yeah. I tell you what annoys me with the Saliba situation. Yeah, it's not the player at all.
No,
it's not the player at all. Because when we signed him, I didn't really know much about him. But at the same time, I thought, okay, it's a decent fee. I think it was like 30 million or however much it was. Obviously, we're buying a young, promising centre back. When he joined Arsenal, the situation wasn't ideal. I know he'd gone through some bereavement, etc. And there was a lot of criticism, like kind of labeled at, Saliba himself, Arteta, etc., etc. I thought personally the move back to France on loan was actually good man management. I don't know the ins and outs of how the deal's been dealt with or how he's been treated. And I know we've seen some stuff, in terms of what he's supposedly quoted as saying, but I read very little into interviews and stuff like that. I think the media are very, very good at taking things out of context, twisting things. So when I see Saliba said this or Arteta said that, I read very little into it. I don't really pay it no mind because I know how the media machine works. They want to sell stories, they want clicks. So they will try and drum up and cook up any kind of controversy they can. So for me, I thought sending him back to France was a good move. And the reason why I say that is at the time, we need to remember he's 18, 19 years old. He's a child.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And he's just lost, I can't remember if it was his mum or his dad or both, but he'd gone through some serious bereavement. You know, the guy was grieving. And I think, you know, at that age, you know, as a young man, you'd want to be somewhere where you feel comfortable. You know, that's not necessarily the time when you want to kind of embark on, you know, joining a new club, a new country, new culture, new home, etc. So I thought staying in France, and I remember doing a stream once around the time, and I said I don't criticize Arteta and Arsenal for allowing him to go back on loan. I saw him play in a couple of under-23 games. He didn't look great. And I just thought he's young. He is potential. He's for the future. He's just obviously lost his parent. So yeah, why not let him have a season in France in familiar surroundings? And now obviously he's been in France, and you know, as GunnerKing said, you know, he is performing well. I don't really watch the French league in terms of just how consistent he is or how consistent he's performing, but I can only go by what I've seen, and for the vast majority of what I've seen and what I've heard, it's been pretty good. As King said, he's been in, you know, teams of the week. You know, he's just had a recent call up to the national side. You know, endless people, coaches, journalists are praising him, etc., etc. And for me, I don't see the problem. So it's like I'm with you, Tony, in that I don't have any issue with Saliba. I don't have any issue with Arteta loaning Saliba out to France. My issue is the Arsenal fan base. It's mad. Because it's like every single time, it's like they've made Saliba this thing in that anytime he plays well, they take it an opportunity to get onto Arteta and he should be in the Arsenal squad. But then anytime he doesn't play well or he doesn't do so well or maybe he makes a mistake, they're silent. Or you do get small sections which will actually clip it and say, look, this is why he's not in the team.
I did that last season.
Yeah,
that was
okay. So for me,
what I would say,
I don't like either side. I just think Arteta's and the club have made the decision for him to go on loan. I think it was the right decision.
It was definitely the right decision.
For me, he's an Arsenal player. Like the fact that he's doing well on loan is only a good thing.
Yeah. The thing is, centre back that age, right? Like I think at the age he was 19 or 20 when he left. Yeah, I keep saying this. There was only 5 players, that played more than 1,000 minutes, that were his age in the Prem last season, and there was only 10 that played, up to 500. You know, like so. The point is, he's got to go out. He's got to get game time. What I don't like about our fan base, because they did the same with Martinelli. You know, like, oh, he's not playing last season. There's an agenda against him. Like, and the thing is, they let themselves get riled up by the journalists, like you said, stoking these forced and false narratives. Now, Martinelli returned from a cruciate ligament injury, and he got that injury when he was like 19. Yeah. So you get that injury at that age. You know, I've got a guy here in my TikTok chat, he's a grassroots coach, big him up. I'm sure he would agree as well. You get these kind of injuries at that age. You look at Jack Wilshere and where his career's gone. You rush him back. Yeah. And his injury keeps reoccurring. He gets a reoccurring injury pattern going into his 20s. And then, like Michael Owen, like Wilshere, their careers are cut terribly short. So with Martinelli, it was always clear to me, I'm not an idiot. We tried to bring him back twice last season, and he broke down from injury twice. So when he was fit last season, it was like February, March time. Arteta's said in his head, what have Arsenal got to play for this season? Nothing. So I'm not going to play him. I'm going to let him rest, physically recover fully, have a pre-season, rest more. And you are now seeing the benefits with Martinelli, of that short-term deferred gratification of not playing him. In the longer term, that worked out better for Martinelli, better for Arteta, and better for Arsenal. So I think that we've got a similar situation with Saliba. This is his first full season in professional football. This is what people need to realise. And the Saliba stands that have been like, oh yeah, he's ready to play now. How can you put someone into our defence that hasn't even played a full season? But on the other side of it, the flip coin, what he's done this season for me is way more than enough for me to say I would start him sooner than I would start Rob Holding. Like in a heartbeat. It's not close.
Our fan base, just sections of our fan base, they literally create agendas where there are none.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It turns me into a monster.
Because our agenda, like, you know what I mean?
Bro.
I'm trying to find faults. And I'm like, why am I doing this? I want this kid to do well. I want him to come here and I want him to prove me wrong.
I literally ignore all the Saliba talk. I just ignore it.
I miss it.
I stopped that.
Yeah.
I stopped listening to other people, right? And he's done well this season. Credit where it's due. But I said I would only get excited when he wears an Arsenal shirt and he's playing in the Premier League. That's when I'm going to get excited. But what I'm seeing right now, I like it. Right? I like it.
Yeah, and I think you just got to be it's got to be. It's got to be. You've got to think of these things. And look, the thing is, he's got 2 years left on his contract. Holding's got 2 years left on his contract. Unless you're extending, you've got to extend Saliba's when he gets back. I think that's a massive priority for us. I mean, all the talk is like Saka and all of these other guys. Like Saka, I want to see get a new contract. Martinelli,
we spent 30 million on him, so we have to.
You got Liverpool sniffing around those guys. I've been hearing Real Madrid have been looking at Saliba because they want to get Mbappe and they want to use him as a sweetener in the deal to bring Mbappe because Mbappe's father coached Saliba, I believe. Like they grew up together. They're very close.
Something.
These are things we got to look at. There's bigger picture things at play than just Holding.
I wouldn't be surprised if there are links of Saliba going anywhere.
There's plenty.
He is doing well.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if he did move on because he seems very, very comfortable in France. But he might be, we don't know. We don't know. It's that simple. So until the summer comes,
I think if we get Champions League football, that to him is going to appear massive. Right now, Arsenal have got Champions League football. They've got more games. They've got more games that they're going to be playing as a result of it. Where I realistically am going to get into the team, and they've got games in a competition at the highest level. No,
also the progression of the young players as well.
Fact. Like the way that we are improving young players. Yeah, this is what I keep saying. When they keep on with this, why would they downgrade to Arsenal? To come to Arsenal bollocks. It's like context, bro, is key. Under 23 bracket, we've got some of the highest stock of any club, not just in England, but in the world, because of what we do with those players. Specifically, they don't come to sit on a bench and end up rotting like someone like Callum Hudson-Odoi, who, with the greatest respect to Chelsea and their fans, is a top player that is being wasted on their bench. We don't do that.
I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Saliba. Like I said, I want him to do well if he does stay at Arsenal. We'll see what happens. There's a lot that can happen between now and then. But whilst you talk about rivals, let's have a quick chat on the top four situation. What I want to ask you about top four is who are you worried about more in the running? Are you concerned about Man United, West Ham, or Spurs? Go on, G.
Tottenham all day.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm not even, and maybe it's dangerous, but I don't even look at the West Ham or the United results. It's the Spurs results that I'm worried about.
That you said that, and you, King, because
it's fine to pick up momentum.
I've had a little play around, so just have a look. I've done this without the Arsenal Tottenham game, which is supposed to be it's not being rescheduled yet, and I imagine it'll be rescheduled with the week before
at the end of the season. to maximize.
So just go with me on this. I've kind of made a running prediction because I think Spurs are our main rivals in this. So I was asked how many points do you think we need to see off this top 4 challenge? And I probably said 30 points available. Realistically, probably 22 points. What I've done here is predicted Arsenal's running to as unbiased as possible. Likewise with the Spurs running. So I've gone. So no, I won't go through the results, but I've got 19 points out of 27 for Arsenal, and I've got 19 points for Spurs out of 25. So then obviously that keeps us 3 points ahead of them with that game against them. Now the goal difference, you notice to put there is pretty close, and it's pretty close at the moment. So we're on 13, they're on 11. After those predictions, we're 23, they're 22. So a win for them would see them jump up to 4th. Do you look at those results I put in there? Do you see similar? Do you see something different? Talk to me.
I don't like these. I don't think the predictions look reasonable. I don't like really doing the predictions, but
I just try to.
The biggest banana skin. The biggest banana skin for me is the period of Chelsea, United, West Ham in quick succession as well. 100%. I will be honest. I don't see us getting much from Chelsea. They're starting to really pick up steam. They're really picking up steam. Like if you watch their games, like Havertz, you got James coming back in. I think if we get a point from there, that's a massive achievement. I think United as well.
Go on.
I think the United game's the more realistic game that we can win of those two, and I actually think we can beat West Ham away as well. Going to be watching that game as well. I think they're going to be missing Bowen, and if they're missing Bowen, no chance. On top of that, they're gonna have their Europa League game. I'm hoping. I'm hoping that they beat Lyon, because if they beat Lyon 2 weeks before, it's going to greatly affect. Like you saw Leicester when we played Leicester a few weeks ago. They're the Conference League game a few days later. All the players, all the heavy hitters, they started on the bench. We benefited massively from that. We can't pretend that we did.
Right. Look at Spurs and the against West Ham. They benefited. West Ham looked leggy. They look so tall. After 120 minutes,
West Ham have fallen off, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, they were taken into a deep run, like 120 minutes extra time. So yeah, I think that definitely showed on the legs.
Yeah, it's close.
I did a calculation of my own, by the way.
Go on then.
So I took a mean average of the last 4 seasons.
Okay.
The points total that the 4th place team got.
Right.
Worked out the average of those 4 seasons. It was 69.75 points. So let's call it 70 points. I think that's got to be the points total that we aim for. 70 minimum. I think if we get more than 70 points, we've got a very strong chance we will be the 4th place team. But 70's got to be the bench standard. It's got.
I've seen a lot of Arsenal fans that are very too much confident. They already think top 4's done.
Yeah, no.
But I looked at that and I was like, it is far from over. And Spurs are really hot on our heels, and they can score goals. I mean, as leaky as they are at the back, they are scoring a lot of goals, which could also be a factor when it comes to top 4.
My only hope is that if you actually look at, obviously when you look at the table and you do almost like a predictor like that, it looks really close. When you look at Spurs' fixtures in comparison to ours, it looks like they've got the easier running. But the only thing that's given me hope that we can pull it out the bag and get top 4 is if you look at the form of both teams. Yeah. So we are clearly the most consistent and informed team out of the two. You just have to look at
their last 7 Spurs.
30 out of the 39 points that have been available since we've dropped Aubameyang, we've picked up 31.
That's what I mean.
It's not just 2022. It goes all the way back to when we put Lacazette in the team at that point. It's been ridiculous. Like our average shots per goal has gone up. Our average expected goal has gone up. Touches inside the box has gone up. Possession has gone up. Like it's mad. Like we've become much better since Lacazette's been put in the team, and then I think after the results in January, after we've gone to a 4-3-3, our results and our performances have they've dramatically improved. But I am seeing an upturn in Spurs' form at the moment as well. Particularly that Kulusevski. He's added something. He's taken some of the responsibility of scoring goals and creating goals away from Kane and Son. And that's given me a little cause for concern. I can't lie. You know, if I'm being honest, you know, like
I'm just going to rely on Spurs being Spursy, man.
That's the thing. Like,
let's hope it continues.
We all know what the history of the Tottenham is. You know,
right. I see what rival fans are doing. Like they're all saying, "Oh, it's Arsenal got it." I know exactly what they're doing because
psychology, man.
They found us at the start of the season, bottom of the league. Yeah, and now we've gone past these ones that are giving it all that before. And they're like, oh, let's give it all that because if they fail, we say, well, it wouldn't even be a failure. Let's have it right. Top 4, not getting it would be a failure. We'd be gutted because we were in it. But it's like them going, they got top, and if they get top 4, they're like, oh, you can't believe you bottled that. That's all it's going to be. I know exactly what they're doing, but you know what?
Exactly, but we all know, look, it's kids that had no place being in this position in the first place. You know, like. For me, top 6 was the aim coming into the season. So I'm not going to say I won't be disappointed because I will be.
Of course, where we are right now.
But I'm not going to be made to feel. I'm not going to use the word failure for any finish inside the top 6. It's not allowed. No way. Sorry.
No, definitely not. So, just to recap, how many points do you think we need to secure top 4? I said 22 out of 30.
Well, we've got to get to 70 points. We're on 54 points at the moment. So 16 at the very minimum from our last games, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. So what, 6 wins? Or call it 5 wins and a draw, 6 wins. I think that this is what we're looking at. You know, I think 6 to 7 wins with 3 games that we can afford to lose. 3 to 4 games, because I think there will be a bit of a buffer because, as you said, I think Tottenham and United do have an unexpected loss in them more than we do against the teams outside the top 6. Touch wood.
Yeah, please do. G.
Yeah. Palace coming up. And
for me, I don't know, you know, like I look at obviously the fixtures and look at, you know, when you kind of predict the scores and the results and stuff. I think it's going to be a lot more up and down and twists than those fixtures and those results suggest. I'm really not sure how many points it's going to be. But for me, we just need to get more points than the likes of West Ham, Spurs and United. I don't think it's going to be as straightforward as a lot of Arsenal fans think it is, and even when you look at those fixtures and those score lines, you know, I think both teams there are huge potential banana skins in a lot of those fixtures. So, but that's the beauty of the Premier League. I'm just hoping that, like I said, for me, it's our form, it's our consistency, it's been and just the effort and the performance of the lads. So I'm just hoping it continues and we secure top 4. But I don't know how many points it is, to be honest. I really don't.
No. Okay. All right. No, that's fine. Fair enough. Listen, guys, we've got an hour and 10. We've had a few heated moments, but you know, that's going to happen, man. We listen. It's all about opinions. And that's the beauty of it. You know, we agree on something, we don't agree on something. but we all share one thing, and that's the love for this football club. Simple as that.
One thing I want to say.
Go on.
I was just going to say before we go, I want to big up Patrick Vieira, bro.
Yes.
Premier League Hall of Fame. My
yes.
Yeah. I just wanted to get that in there. Like,
I saw Man City trying to share something on Twitter about Vieira. I said, he ain't your legend. You wait for Sean Goater's turn, yeah? No.
Bro, I've had all sorts. I put up a post congratulating him yesterday. I caught two brothers in my comment thread slipping, man.
I think
one Tottenham fan trying to say Yaya Toure was better. Stop the cap. And then a Chelsea fan trying to say that Kante was better. Stop it. Just stop the cap. Vieira, clear of both. Don't at me.
And let's also congratulate Saka for being nominated Player of the Month, and Arteta also nominated Player of the Manager of the month. So there's
improved.
Hey? No. King, if we speak. Exactly. Anyway, boys, absolute pleasure. King, thank you. He talks, thanks. I'll have to catch up with Stephen at some point. So he was obviously too busy. But anyway, please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we are out of here.